I think, okay, now in a perfect world, right? Because it would mean so much to the landscape of boxing. In a perfect world, we would get Deontay Wilder versus WBC heavyweight champion Deontay Wilder versus Luis Ortiz. In the fall, right? Get IBF champion Anthony Joshua, IBF and WBA champion Anthony Joshua to fight Kubrat Pulev around that same time. And then in May, sometime of next year, the winner of Wilder versus Ortiz and the winner of Pulev versus Joshua will meet in Vegas. That would be the perfect outcome. But here is a situation, right? You have Eddie Hearn, the promoter of Anthony Joshua, saying this. Okay, first we're going to fight Pulev. Then we're going to fight um, Luis Ortiz, and then we'll fight Anthony Joshua. But to eliminate that, to eliminate a fight, it would be awesome if Bermain Stiverne was take step aside money and Luis Ortiz not force the issue with the WBA, like, yo, give us our mandatory. And he goes on and fights Pulev. Or what if Pulev takes some step aside money and you know, both Stiverne and Ortiz agreed to let Joshua and Wilder fight. But that's just in a perfect world. It just doesn't work like that. So what I see is I see Joshua versus Pulev, and I hope that they really make Ortiz versus Wilder. It makes perfect sense, right? Now, if you don't know, he has two mandatories. They're not threatening to strip him, but he has to, get an exemption from definitely likely the WBA, according to Eddie Hearn. And also, the WBA released a statement. WBA released a statement yesterday. In fact, let me go read it for you. In their newsletter, explaining what they're going to do with the Luis Ortiz situation. So it's looking like Luis Ortiz is definitely not going to be next. So let me read this. Let me pull it up right here for you. By the way, I'm Teacher Controversy. This is Teacher Controversy Live. We cover every single major fight live. We've been doing like a lot of videos. We're getting back into the swing of things, to let people know that we're going to be here working consistently. But let me read this statement from the WBA involving the Joshua Luis Ortiz situation. So, where's it at? Oh, okay. Gilberto Jesus Mendoza, the president of the World Boxing Association, the WBA, informed at a press conference held in Panama Tuesday, August the 8th, that the WBA presidency is moving to Colombia. We are expanding the WBA operations by moving our presidency to Medellin, while Panama will keep the WBA central office. That has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Let me see. It is for that reason the WBA office in Panama will be reconstructed to change the location within the city. The new office address that has nothing to do with it. Let me go down, and Mendoza also reiterated that the heavyweight resolution for the mandatory fight between Anthony Joshua and Luis Ortiz, and said that he is in conversation with the IBF for the mandatory fights to take place without affecting the boxers. In addition, he repeated that the organization will continue eliminating titles to keep a single champion. So basically, he's saying that the WBA president is saying that they are in contact with the IBF so that Anthony Joshua doesn't get stripped. And also, come on, it's too much money involved in Anthony Joshua, and he's, the perfect ambassador for a champion, for an organization as far as the way he carries himself and all kind of stuff like that. They are not going to strip that man. So Luis Ortiz can bitch and moan all he wants. He'll get his title shot, but they're not going to strip him. So it's looking like they have to take care of, Eddie Hearn knows the scoop, obviously. He's the promoter. So basically he's saying we're going to take care of Kubrat Pulev, then Luis Ortiz. But, in fans' eyes, if Wilder versus Luis Ortiz happens in October, or November, like they're saying it is, they were saying it was going to be in the end of October or very early November. If that happens, hardcore fans will be satisfied with Luis Ortiz. They'll be satisfied with Deontay Wilder. And then it'll build up a big super fight between Ortiz, Wilder winner versus the Pulev versus Joshua winner, right? And fans would love to see, Joshua versus Ortiz or Joshua versus Wilder. you know, depending on who wins that match. I'm sorry, but when it comes to Kubrat Pulev, he's the odd dog out. But also, you have another situation where you have WBC mandatory Bermain Stiverne, who doesn't seem willing. Last it was reported to take step aside money, even though his promoter Don King was cool with it. So in order for Wilder to fight Ortiz, you know, or to fight anybody, it has to be approved by Bermain Stiverne. But what will happen is if Bermain Stiverne takes step-aside money, then he'll likely be ordered to fight for the WBC interim against maybe, you know, if you take Kubrat Pulev out of the situation, you know, maybe Dylan White. You know, and let me go see who else is ranked very high, you know, by the WBC. So please subscribe. By the way, it doesn't take too much time. Oh, okay, so here's the WBC rankings. You have Bermain Stiverne's number 2. Well, number 1. Scratch out Vladimir Klitschko. Number 3 is Luis Ortiz. Scratch him out. Scratch out Kubrat Pulev. You have Bermain Stiverne, who would be ordered to fight Dylan White or Andy Ruiz. You know, in a fight in which he could lose and lose out on big money against Joshua or Wilder, you know, or whoever the case may be. But the problem with Wilder versus Stiverne too is nobody wants to see it. PBC knows that nobody wants to see it. Al Heyman knows that nobody wants to see it. Showtime won't pick up the bout. So therefore, the bout would have trouble getting televised and the money just wouldn't be there. But one thing for sure is it could go to purse bid. And if it goes to purse bid, shit can get all fucked up. So they have to, you know, work on something soon to avoid it going to purse bid. Now, even though this is an entirely different video, there is talks, and I heard it from several different people now, you know, that David Haye is positioning himself to face the winner of Joseph Parker versus Hughie Fury in his comeback fight, even though he lost. You know, even though he lost to Tony Bellew in his last fight, he's positioning himself to fight one of those guys, and I'm sure the WBO would allow it to go down. But then again, after all, he's not. He is injured, and that's the reason why he's not in the rankings right now. So Eddie Hearn, you know, in Eddie Hearn's perfect world, you know, he would Anthony Joshua will fight Kubrat Pulev, then Luis Ortiz, then Deontay Wilder, then the winner of that Parker, Hughie Fury, David Haye, you know, situation. But is Anthony Joshua good to beat these guys? Now, he beat Vladimir Klitschko. Got a lot of respect for that. Biggest fight, biggest one of his career against a very good on his game Klitschko. Even though he was 40 years old, the age means nothing. Klitschko was good. And still, in a rematch, it still would have been a 50-50 fight, even though Klitschko was retired. I think he can beat Kubrat Pulev. I'm confident he can beat Kubrat Pulev. But Kubrat Pulev is not a joke. Kubrat Pulev does have some skills, despite how he looked against Derek Chisora. You know, you don't want to take a clean shot from Kubrat Pulev. Can he beat Luis Ortiz? Remember, Luis Ortiz has like this cult following of people like, yo, Luis Ortiz is really, 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 really good. But Luis Ortiz hasn't been fighting anybody, or people haven't been fighting him. You know, I would love to see him versus Deontay Wilder. I mean, Anthony Joshua. You know, that Olympic gold medal against that Cuban school. I would love that heavyweight Cuban school. I would love to see. Can he beat him? You know, can he beat Deontay Wilder? I understand people call him Windmill Wilder and that shit be looking crazy. You know, that crazy shit he be throwing. But he has a nice, solid jab behind him and that right hand, that straight right hand, not the hooks. Those hooks be on some crazy shit. That straight right hand of Deontay Wilder will fuck your shit up. So if he pulls this off in these next 3 fights, he's already on his way to true greatness. And then what if he goes on and becomes undisputed? It's crazy. And then it can all happen by the end of 2018, they're saying. It can all happen. So, we're looking for help covering all these fights. If you're in New Zealand, you know, if you want to go to, Parker versus Fury is not here in the UK. But if you're interested in going to fights, if you're interested in helping out in any way, shape, or form, please contact me. My name is T Street Controversy. This is T Street Controversy Live. I cover every single major fight live. I don't care whether you're in Liverpool, in Manchester, in Lancashire, London, you know, Cardiff, if you're in Hull, there's fights out there for you. You know, email me at editor, that's EDITOR, at FightView360.com. If not, if you don't understand what I'm saying, then go to the About section of this YouTube page, and you'll see the little email. Click that, send me an email. You know, you got to let me know where you're from. You know, let me know your work schedule, because a lot of times when they do press conferences and things like that, you only get like 3 days notice, not even that sometimes, you know? So The heavyweight division is heating up. So you can expect for Joshua versus Pulev to be announced sometime in the next, I guess, like 3 weeks or so. You know, I'm T Street Controversy. This is T Street Controversy Live. I cover every single major fight live. Please subscribe.